Let's do a problem. 3 travel companies in Mumbai run cab services. Existing cab rates are as follows. Praveen and Kiran want to hire a taxi to go to the airport, which is 25 kilometers and 11 kilometers away from their respective homes. We have to help them to decide the taxi service which would be most economical for them. Let's discuss the approach for doing this question. For finding the most economical taxi service, we have to find a relation between the taxi fare and the distance covered for each of the taxi services. This is our first step. Once we have the relations, then we can draw the graphs for the 3 taxi services and then we can evaluate the options. Based on this approach, let's complete the solution. So our first step is to form the linear equations, and for linear equations we need to take some variables. So let fare be represented by y, a number of kilometers by x. So the equation for taxi service A will be, so fare y is equal to, if the total number of kilometers is x, then the fare is 200 for the first 8 kilometers. So that means 200 is flat rate for first 8 kilometers. And then after first 8 kilometers, number of kilometers left will be x minus 8. And the rate is 15 per kilometer. So this is the equation for taxi service A. Similarly, for taxi service B, y will be equal to 150 plus x minus 7 into 22. And for taxi service C, there is no minimum distance, rate is 30 rupees per kilometer. So for taxi service C, y will be equal to 30x. Based on these 3 equations, let's draw the graph. So these are the graphs we have plotted for the 3 taxi services. The blue one is for C, green one is for B, and the pink one is for A. Let's take the case of Praveen first. Praveen has to travel 25 kilometers, and we can see that graph of C is going way over the graph of the other 2 taxi services, so C is ruled out. And also we can see that at x is equal to 13, that means here the graph of taxi service A and B is intersecting. That means for 13 kilometers, fare is same for taxi services A and B. And after that, the graph of taxi service B is going over the graph of taxi service A, which is represented in pink here. That means for any distance greater than 13, taxi service B is costly as compared to taxi service A. Therefore, for Praveen, taxi service A is economical. Now let's see the case for Kiran. Kiran has to travel 11 kilometers to reach the airport, and we can see here that the pink graph is over the green graph. That means taxi service B is economical for Kiran, who has to travel a distance of 11 kilometers. So for Kiran, taxi service B is economical. And let's see from the graph what will be the situation when taxi service C is economical. From the graph, for the distance less than 6 kilometers, graph of taxi service C is lower than the graph of service A and service B. So if individual has to travel a distance of less than 6 kilometers, he should use the taxi service C. Let's summarize what we have learnt in this problem. We learned forming linear equations based on real-life context. We learned drawing graphs of equations. We also learned how to draw inferences based on the graph.